Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, taking a product from idea to market.
Plus advice on how to break into the world of government contracting.
Get ready, Hampton Roads Business Weekly starts right now. Hello, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. Welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly, a weekly look at the businesses and entrepreneurs making an impact right here in Hampton Roads.
Today we're getting advice from a wide range of entrepreneurs and experts on everything from breaking into government contract work to how to look for investors.
But we start with inventing that million-dollar idea. I spoke with Mike Fahy, the creator of Beach Gladiator, about getting that idea out of your head and onto store shelves. If you have an idea for a perfect product and you're trying to figure out how to get it to market, then this discussion will really benefit you. We're happy today to talk with Mike Fahy, entrepreneur and inventor. Thanks for talking with us today, Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
You have invented 3 products. Here we have behind us the Travel Halo, Beach Gladiator, and Comfy Mask. Let's start by talking about how you came up with these ideas.
Well, each idea that I've come up with and come to market with has come out of a personal need for me. So, for instance, the Travel Halo, I travel quite a bit, and those neck pillows really never did it for me. So, one time when I was actually in a car traveling, my head kept rolling side to side on the headrest, and so I took off my socks and I balled them up. I know, icky, but I put my socks on each side of my head, and it stopped the head from rolling side to side. So when I got home, I took some duct tape and those socks, and that was the onset of that idea, which has eventually become a patent and is now in airports and luggage stores around the U.S. and actually around the world. The Beach Gladiator is my latest product that I do with my brother-in-law and I, who we both had the same problem as kids, and that was the rubbing and chafing we get under our arms and between our thighs, just running around at the beach or surfing, and our kids have the same problem. So we realized there was a product in the triathlon and running world that could be tweaked and rebranded and marketed to people who got the same problem as us and our children. And so that's Beach Gladiator, and that's this large promo vehicle you see here today. And the last product we have here, Comfy Mask, is a product that is the first product that I came out with in 2009, and that has a lot of meaning to me because as a child, my first entrepreneurial job was mowing fields and cutting grass, and I also had severe allergies. So I met a man in his retirement who was developing a mask that was really comfy and was great for pollen and dust and things like that, and I decided that I could really take this and make it big and really hit all those niche markets out there for people who have allergies and asthma.
I like how you've taken products that are solutions to problems that you experience, and as you said, close to your heart. These are issues that are close to your heart. Let's talk about patent, no patent.
Well, people ask me that all the time, and there's no real set law that says you should or you shouldn't patent something. One thing you'll get if you get a patent, you'll get a piece of paper and you'll get a $10,000 to $15,000 bill. That's the only thing you can be guaranteed of if you get a patent. So what I say is you really have to look at your market. You have to look down the road and figure, is this something that can be easily knocked off? Is this something that I'm going to need to protect? Not that a patent can protect you in every situation, but it's a good thing to have in certain scenarios. The flip side of that is I've seen inventors spend years keeping everything they do a secret and working on that patent, and then they really have nothing. So the important thing is to sell your product.
Right.
Sell your product, make the patent decision sooner or later, depending on whether you think you need it.
So speaking about getting your product to market, how did it go from the idea in your head, the problem that you were trying to solve, to the prototype?
That's the hard part, and you really want to make sure before you dump all your resources and all your passion into something that you test it. So first thing after idea would be prototype. You want to make, whether it's this or whether it's a service or whatever, you want to make some sort of prototype. It's something you can do in your garage. With today's technology, we've got great resources. You can Google someone who'll make anything for you. So make the prototype, then test the prototype. So before you go all in, definitely test, and you're going to find from that also, you're going to be making modifications. So you're going to be tweaking it to customer demand, and what you end up with might not be what you started with.
Right. What advice would you give to somebody? What would you say to them if they, as they come up to you, I'm sure always, and say, I have a great idea?
Number one would be, unless you're independently wealthy, don't quit your day job. Number two would be work at it, have perseverance, do it in your spare time, and you really have to have that passion to keep driving with it, because there's so many pitfalls and so many ups and downs. So persevere. And then the last thing, and I tell this to a lot of people, is have a plan. Figure out how much it's going to cost you and how long it's going to take you, and plan for that. But then take that plan, and whatever that dollar figure is and whatever that time figure is, triple it. And that'll be the realistic time and amount of money that it'll cost you. And if you can swallow that, if you can handle that, then go for it. And never stop, never give up.
Mike, thank you, and congratulations on your success.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
Coming up next, what entrepreneurs need to know before seeking investors.
But first, we want to hear from you. So if you have questions or comments during the show, tweet us at HR Biz Weekly. We're back right after the break.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. This week we're here at Williams Mullen with John Paris, and you head up what?
The private equity group.
And so what does that mean?
That means companies that are looking to raise money who are not going to go public but are looking to do it privately. Or it means private equity funds that buy businesses and invest in businesses. So both of those.
So you've been a part of helping people raise money. How many companies do you think that you guys have helped over the years, you personally, deals that you've been a part of?
Raise money?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've seen a lot of deals.
Yeah.
What do you see most often as a reason why someone's deal doesn't go through?
They're not ready. Or it's the wrong manager, or it's the wrong product, and those things just aren't going to work.
So how can the founder of the company that obviously is going in and trying to get money from those investors understand that before they start investing time into those things?
I'd say the most important thing is that the company needs to know who they are. So there are businesses that are fabulous businesses, restaurants, retail stores that are going to make plenty of money for the owners and be a great way of life, but they aren't necessarily in a position to be interesting to the types of people that like to invest in early stage companies, because the return might not be deemed to be enough to make the risk worth it.
A lot of people say that your investor should be an expert in the field that you're trying to find them. Is that a true thing? Do you typically find a true match there? Or is it something where someone doesn't have to necessarily be that expert but can write the check?
When you're helping a company raise money, the most important thing for the company is to raise the money. So you got to make sure you talk to the right people. There are people who will invest in early stage companies, but you need to know who they are. Not what they do, not their names so much, but the most important thing to understand is the people who actually write checks are people who are, by definition, pretty well off, because they've earned a certain amount of money over their career, and X percent of that, 90% of it, is managed by Goldman Sachs or somebody, and it's the market and stocks and bonds and real estate. These guys all have a small sliver, and the sliver can be huge, but a sliver that they're willing to invest in early stage companies on the theory that they can't get the kind of return from the stock market they might be able to get from an early stage business.
So what does that return look like? So if I'm investing $10,000, what type of return should I expect in that? 2, 10, 100?
Good question. My experience is this. We tend to look at it as, is there a world in which this investment could be worth 5 to 10 times the amount of money I put in it? That might be over 2 years or 10 years, whatever. But if there isn't the ability to reasonably see an exit at a significant multiple to the amount of money you put in, they might not look at it.
So a lot of companies will go and say, I have this piece of paper and I want to raise $1 million and I want 10%, but they don't have a lawyer, they don't have paperwork, they don't have any of these things. So you're saying that if you are interested in raising money, not just have a great idea, not just be have great talent around you, but also have all these other things in place so that when that person is interested, you kind of have all of this data and information already ready to go.
It makes a huge difference. And we just helped the company. Fabulous idea, fabulous entrepreneur. He didn't know who owned his stock. He had like 36 shareholders and it wasn't clear who owned it. He had financials, but they kind of weren't really financials, and it took a lot of work to get that great manager and that great company into a position of being able to raise money, which is where they are now. And there's other situations where the company comes to us and they've got financials are in order, the ownership's clear, and they're ready right now. So if you want to help an earlier stage company, if they can remember that those blocking and tackling issues, keeping track of your finances, keeping track of your ownership, the governance, whether it's an operating agreement for an LLC or a C Corp with articles and bylaws, and have clarity into who you are, that will save you a lot of money.
If there was one piece of advice that you were to give someone that was looking to raise money, what would it be?
Work your butt off. You got to understand the market that you're trying to get into. You got to understand why your product is solving a problem within that market, and then you got to figure out how you could, whether it's software or whether it's a piece of hardware or whether it's a service, how you can provide that service or product in a way that's going to make investors fabulously happy.
John Paris, thank you so much for your time.
Sure, it's fun. Thank you.
Coming up, advice on how to break into the field of government contracting. We're back in 2 minutes. We are talking about the competitive landscape of government contracting. Happy to introduce you to Bert Ortiz, the president and CEO of AvMac. Bert, thanks so much for talking with us today.
No, thanks for inviting me. My pleasure.
You are a veteran-owned business. Thank you for
Yes,
your
we are.
service.
Thank you.
Why did you make that decision to go into a business that you own versus getting a job?
Well, one of my business partners and I, we retired from the Navy after over 30 years, and we decided we wanted to give this a shot. We certainly didn't need to. We could have sat at home and played lots of golf, but we decided we weren't done yet. We wanted to give back because we really enjoyed our naval service, as you can tell. We were both officers, so we decided to give this a go. We thought we found a niche initially in some of the things that we did while we were in active duty. That niche didn't have money with it, though. So it gave us the first 2 years to kind of build everything in the business, all of our documents, our business plan, getting our certifications, those kind of things, which ultimately paid dividends to when we finally got a subcontracting job. And that was key, because we weren't going to win anything unless we performed first. So always finding that first one is difficult, but when you get it, you want to make sure you do well.
So you said something important there, is the first step into this business was finding your niche, which is
Right.
aviation management, and then subcontracting. So that means that you found a prime. You found somebody to work with, and
Yes.
then you were able to get that record of good work.
Absolutely, and it's all about networking. And networking is key. I mean, we networked from, and we did everything ourselves. We didn't pay anybody to come write our documents. We went to small business conferences, small business informational meetings, and they're hosted by not only the SBA, but the economic development centers in each of our cities here in Hampton Roads. They all offer great opportunities. Banks also offered small business help and assistance. So with that, we started developing things, and we started meeting other businesses, sharing ideas. A lot of them knew that we were new, and so we went to one NAVC business conference and NAVAIR Small Business Conference. We met a person that was kind of like us. We introduced ourselves, and next thing we knew, he wanted to give us a piece to kind of help with his business plan, and it worked out. We performed well for him, so he's actually our mentor today.
You did good work as a subcontractor, but there's quite a big jump to being the prime.
Oh, there is.
And we've talked about some of those challenges. So can you list some of those things and some of the things that you see people doing wrong as that prime?
I think the biggest part of being a prime is being willing to assume that risk, because now you're at the forefront. When you're a sub, really the contracting officer or the customer isn't really going to come after you. They're after the prime, because that's who their contract is with. So as a prime, now you're the face. You're the face of the effort. Choose your subcontractors wisely, because again, you're going to be the face of this effort. So I think some of the downfalls is underestimating the amount of resources you need to apply to this, including hiring the right people. You have to get the right folks in. You have to be engaged with those people at the very start. Be engaged with the customer. Make sure that you're filling all the requirements. Make sure that you're hitting the spots that are hurting them and why they requested your services to begin with. And I think that interaction lends itself to a good relationship between the prime and the customer and the government.
We talked about the competitive nature of this business, of government contracting. What would you say are some pieces of advice for those who are looking to get into this business, into this industry?
Sure. I would say, one, have a strong will and know that you're going to have to persevere. I had talked to you earlier that it is literally a school of body blows, and it is. You learn your lessons as you go along. But the thing is you don't want to repeat those things that you did wrong. So you have to persevere. I think you have to have the financing in place, so get a good business plan initially, bring it to a bank, make sure you have a good attorney, make sure you have a good CPA. Because in government contracting, they're going to evaluate everything that you do, all your pricing points, the way you handle contract management. All those things are graded and evaluated. And the way you grade and evaluate every year is how your performance is being looked at. And that performance is key, because without performance, you have nothing going forward to bid on other projects. If you don't have past performance, it's kind of hard to make that leap.
Bert Ortiz, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
success.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. We've all heard that too many cooks spoil the broth. Well, too many hands can slow a business's growth. I sat down with Dr. Gregory Stone, a professor at Regent University. We talked about the importance of delegating and why a hands-off approach can be the right way to go. One of the challenges that a business owner, an entrepreneur goes through is understanding what they're good at and maybe what they're not good at. How do they understand what role in the business they should play and shouldn't play?
That kind of develops and evolves over time, because we all know the entrepreneur can be the driving force for the business, can be the cheerleader, can be the person who provides the impact, the motivation, the inspiration to the other employees. But when you get to a certain size, all of that direct hands-on attention by the entrepreneur can start slowing growth down. When that happens, the entrepreneur literally needs to stop, think about what he or she is good at, what is their talent, what is their skill, what is their ability, and what role do they want to play in their own business. Let me give you an example. You are opening a bakery. You love baking. You get in there, you bake all the goods, and you grow to the point where you can't keep up with the amount of baking that has to happen. But you're good at it, you like it, but unless you hire an assistant baker, you're going to slow down the growth or keep the business from expanding. Well, do you really like baking that much, or do you like coming up with the recipes and letting somebody else bake them?
Sure.
Do you like instead doing the promotion and marketing of the baked goods, in which case you're turning around and spending your time with customers, getting samples out there on the floor and letting somebody else do those other functions? You can't do it all when you get to 5 or more employees, and that's a good time to start thinking about, what do I really want to do with this?
Are we talking about the kind of at that stage where you start seeing that the person who started that was for so long now is kind of taking, they still are the founder of the company, they still have a huge role, but maybe they're not doing the same day-to-days that they were, and they bring someone in to do that?
Absolutely. And that takes, I'm not saying that's easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing an entrepreneur needs to do. You have to look for somebody that's going to come in, have that same passion. I had a friend of mine that started his own mail order catalog business. His difficulty was hiring his first employee, because when 5 o'clock rolled around, the employee said, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow." He said, "Well, don't you want to stay and work some more?" She said, "No, not unless you want to pay me." He said, "Well, don't you like this job?" She goes, "I love this job, it's great." He wanted her to have the same passion he had as an owner. She was the employee, she wanted the paycheck. Nothing wrong with that, other than the entrepreneur has to realize that not everybody's going to have that same heartfelt, throbbing passion.
Likely no one will. what are some of the things that people can do to kind of understand that that passion is what makes them great, but the way that they can direct and manage people is a way that they can make those other things even stronger?
Absolutely. Communicate with your employees, number one. Make sure they're understanding what your role is. Make sure you understand what their role is. Listen to their suggestions. Many times they're working in the things every day and they know what will work better, what will work less, or change your role slightly and delegate more, empower them more with what they need to be able to get the job done.
So really allow your team to be what you hired them to be.
If you hired them because they were the best qualified people, then use them. You know, nothing better than hiring people better than you to come in and take over the processes, because then they can pick up where you have been and move it to the next level. You want to go from 5 to 6 employees. You want to go from 10 to 12. You want to go from 20 to 30. You want to be able to grow from 100 to 150. But the entrepreneur has to be willing, ready to stand out of the way, step out of the way so that others can step into those roles.
That wraps up another edition of Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at HR Business Weekly.
There you will find segments from previous shows, plus some great behind-the-scenes pictures and videos. For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.